Well, howdy, sharpshooters. Today, we're diving into the world of World War II battle rifles, packed with triumphs, misfires, and plenty of what-were-they-thinking moments. From Mexico's pioneering Mondragon to the iconic ping of the M1 Garand and Germany's ambitious G41s. This story's got it all. So grab your favorite brew and let old Buck guide you through the highs, lows, and laughs of semi-auto history. Let's lock, load, and get rolling. Man, the M1 Garand. A name that evokes reverence, awe, and maybe a few dad-worthy chuckles along the way. Dubbed the U.S. Rifle, caliber 30 M1, this iconic firearm wasn't just a rifle, it was the rifle. The kind that made all the other rifles nervously shuffle in the armory. Known for its widespread service during World War II and the Korean War, this semi-automatic marvel is still beloved by collectors, shooters, and history buffs alike. But like every legend, the M1 had its awkward teenage phase, the gas trap era. Let's rewind to its humble beginnings before it became the legendary rifle we know today. The journey began in 1919 when John C. Garand joined Springfield Armory to develop a semi-automatic rifle. After testing everything from foreign designs like the Danish Bang rifle to his own eccentric primer-actuated prototypes, Garand landed on a gas-operated mechanism for what would become the M1. The early design, affectionately or not, called the gas trap model, used a system inspired by the Bang rifle to collect escaping gas at the muzzle to cycle the action. But the first iterations of this rifle were a bit like a middle school science project. Great potential, but not quite there yet. You know, I was thinking at one point, why did the Bang rifle inspire the gas trap M1? Well, the answer is because it was blowing Garand's mind, just not the right way. The first M1 rifles were adopted in 1936, but production didn't kick off till 1937. These early models had a few features that would later be refined or outright changed. First off, the straight-eared front sights. Early shooters mistook these for the sight blade itself, which isn't great for accuracy unless you were aiming to miss. Square wire springs, as sure they worked, but swapping them out for round wire springs later was like upgrading from a flip phone to a smartphone. And finally, the solid butt plate. No storage recess for cleaning gear meant soldiers had to get creative. Imagine stuffing your cleaning kit in your sock. Now that's not tactical. I guess the reason why it didn't have a cleaning kit compartment is because it wanted to keep the dirt close to its butt. Bad joke? Okay. The gas trap mechanism worked, but it had a few, shall we say, personality quirks. First being the carbon buildup. The gas cylinder was prone to gunking up so badly that cleaning it sometimes required a chisel. And let's be honest, nobody wants their rifle to double as an archaeological dig site. Second was the alignment issues. Gas cylinder could loosen, leading to misalignment. And this occasionally caused bullets to strike the gas cylinder itself, kind of like stepping on your own shoelaces in battle. And finally, the bayonet troubles. The gas cylinder wasn't exactly a sturdy mount for a bayonet. Soldiers learned this the hard way when their bayonets wobbled more than a shopping cart wheel. And you know what's worse than a wobbly bayonet? Your enemy laughing at it before you get to use it. In 1939, Garand and Springfield Armory engineers developed a new gas port system that routed gas directly from a port drilled into the barrel. This design was simpler, sturdier, and easier to maintain. And by 1940, production had fully transitioned to the new system, and the gas trap M1 was retired. The new gas port design wasn't just an improvement, it was the rifle equivalent of trading a clunky jalopy for a sleek sports car. Though flawed, the gas trap M1 holds a special place in history. Approximately 48,000 were produced, and many saw service during World War II. For collectors today, finding an original unmodified gas trap M1 is like spotting a unicorn. Rare, magical, and guaranteed to make everyone jealous. The M1 Garand in all its iterations remains a testament to American ingenuity and resilience. Its evolution from the quirky gas trap to the refined gas port design shows that even legends can learn and grow. The reason it got so much value is because it got bang-up historical value and still knows how to trap your attention. Another bad joke? Alright, I'll stop. So next time you hear that iconic ping as an M1 ejects its clip, remember the journey. Give a nod to the gas trap model that paved the way. Next up is Soviet engineering with the SVT-38 and SVT-40. The rifles that tried to bring semi-automatic swagger to the Red Army and make scopes cool again. Spoiler, not all scopes survive the ride. But let's roll. Picture this, it's the mid-1930s and the Soviet Union wants a semi-auto rifle that can pop targets with sniper precision. Enter the Tokarev rifles with their dreams of being a hotshot in the Red Army. But early trials were about as smooth as trying to shave with a chainsaw. The PEM scopes were too long. They got in the way of shell ejection, which, let's face it, is kind of important when you're trying not to get shot. And the offset scopes? Well, the AVS rifle tried that. Comfy? Not so much. It's like wearing cowboy boots 2 sizes too small. So the Soviets decided, let's shrink these scopes and give them a new design. and by 1940 in January, they had new prototypes ready for testing. The scopes were great, but hey, progress is progress. Now, here's where it gets spicy. The SVT-38 was the first to step up for testing, but by May 1940, its younger, leaner brother, the SVT-40, stole the spotlight. It hadn't even been officially accepted yet, but it swaggered into trials like a cowboy walking in the saloon. Let's talk about the mounts. The Tokarev mount proved to be the real MVP, beating out all the other contenders, and even so, it needed tweaks, especially for those pesky rings. And then the scopes. The new PU scope finally passed trials, ready to head into mass production with the SVT-40, a match made in Soviet heaven. Mass production kicked off in March 1941 at factory number 314 in Tula. But remember, war production is a chaotic rodeo and not everything went as planned. The SVT-40 sniper rifles came in two flavors, factory-issued snipers and field-made snipers. Let's break them down a little bit. The factory-issued snipers were from 1941 to 42. These beauties were made with extra care on a separate production line. Think of them as the luxury models of the SVT world. They had special markings and serial numbers. If your SVT serial number was less than 2000 in a specific prefix, congrats, you've got a sniper rifle. And some rifles even skipped the C proof mark, making them ultra-rare collectibles. And then there's the field-made snipers. These guys were the scrappy underdogs. Regular SVTs got a field mod to add scopes, usually salvaged from busted factory snipers. Authenticating these is tougher than proving Bigfoot exists. If you find one, it's probably a relic and worth a fortune. Also, Bigfoot definitely exists. Here's a name you need to know. Lyudmila Pavlichenko, the most famous female sniper of World War II. She rocked the SVT-40, proving that this rifle, despite its quirks, could still pack a punch in the hands of a sharpshooter. And that's what we're all about here, right? The SVT-38 and SVT-40 were bold steps into semi-auto territory, but they had their growing pains. While the Mosin Nagant remained the Soviet sniper favorite, the SVTs paved the way for innovation in rifle tech. Think of them as the scrappy younger sibling, ambitious, sometimes flawed, but undeniably cool. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a scope to calibrate and a campfire to light. Keep your sights sharp and your powder dry, folks. Now, sharpshooters and history buffs, we're talking about the Gewehr 41M, a rifle so over-engineered it makes IKEA furniture assembly look like child's play. Mauser, what were you thinking? Picture this, it's early 1940s and Germany wants a semi-auto rifle that doesn't mess with their beloved bolt-action K98K's vibe. Enter the, and my German's a bit rusty here, but here is Waffenamt HWAA with a laundry list of must-haves that would give any engineer a migraine. Now, the biggest head scratcher, no moving parts on top of the rifle. While Walther basically said, nah, we're ignoring that, Mauser went, hold my schnapps, and went to work. And the result? Well, a rifle so complex it might as well have come with German-to-German instruction manuals. Let's talk about the guts. See, this bad boy had no fewer than 8 moving parts and 18 springs just to function. For context, the AK-47 manages with just 2. Then there's the gas system. Both Mauser and Walther used a bang-type gas piston, a fancy way of saying it's gonna get gummed up faster than a kid eating peanut butter. And then the bolt. Mauser decided to make it rotate like your dad's old bolt-action hunting rifle. Complete with a 90-degree handle you had to yank back when it inevitably jammed. Nostalgia points, but not much else. The HWAA, in their infinite wisdom, wanted a rifle that could double as a bolt-action in case the semi-auto function failed. Mauser took that way too literally. Bolt handle was almost identical to the K98K, which sounded great until you realized this feature turned a modern rifle into a clunky, overcomplicated throwback. And let's talk about the weight. The G41M tipped the scales at 11.5 pounds. That's more than your Thanksgiving turkey. Add in its awkward length and poor balance, and you got a rifle that's more punishment than a privilege to carry. Now, see, Mauser was supposed to crank out about 15,000 units between 1941 and 43. But guess what? They were swamp building K98K rifles, so production was slow. By the time they hit their quota, Walther had swooped in with a G41W, a less awful version of the same idea. By December 29, 1942, the G41W got the official stamp of approval, leaving Mauser's rifle to slink off into history as a second-string reject. German troops took one look at the G41M and said, "Nein, danke." It was heavy, fragile, and prone to jamming if you so much as looked at it wrong. In fact, soldiers preferred using captured SVT-40s. Yes, the Soviet rifle we talked about earlier. Talk about salt in the wound. Most G41Ms ended up in the hands of second-line troops, and the ones that didn't were left in the mud of the Eastern Front. Today, finding one in good condition is like finding a four-leaf clover in a snowstorm. The G41M was the engineering equivalent of building a Ferrari with some square wheels. Sure, it looked good, but it wasn't going anywhere fast. Mauser tried to please everyone, and in doing so, they pleased nobody. So, what is the lesson here? Sometimes simpler's better, folks. Just ask the AK-47 or your local carpenter. Remember this well. Don't overthink your tools, whether it's a rifle or a wrench. Keep it simple, keep it steady, keep it Tanner style. Now, we're talking about a rifle so American it practically hums the Star-Spangled Banner when you pull the trigger. The M1 Carbine. This little firecracker was the unsung hero of the Pacific and European theaters in World War II. And let me tell you, it's got a place of honor in my gun safe. Let's dive in. Back in 1941, when Uncle Sam needed a lightweight semi-auto rifle for support troops, the big brains at Winchester whipped up the M1 Carbine faster than my grandma whips up biscuits on a Sunday morning. It was approved just in time to hit the front lines, serving everywhere from the beaches of Normandy to the jungles of the Pacific. And this rifle isn't just a tool, it's a piece of living history, from its roots as a game changer in World War II to its service in Korea and Vietnam. The M1 Garand earned its stripes, and fun fact, it's the same carbine that gave IBM something to brag about besides computers. They were actually one of the manufacturers on this gun. Talk about multitasking. At just over 5 pounds with an 18-inch barrel, this rifle's a featherweight champ. It's a gas-operated, short-stroke tappet system with a rotating bolt, which is fancy talk for it works real smooth. Stripping it down is simple enough for even a ham-fisted guy like me. Just watch out for the bolt. It's a slippery little rascal to reassemble. The 30 carbine ammo it fires is a spicy little number, delivering just the right mix of power and punch for defensive shooting or plinking cans off a fence. And those peep sights? Chef's kiss. Crisp and simple, they just get the job done. Shooting this baby's pure joy. Got just enough kick to remind you you're alive, but not so much that your shoulder hates you afterward. That said, my particular M1 has a penchant for stovepiping spent casings now and then. But, nothing a little TLC and some new parts won't fix. Even so, this thing is a clay pigeon killer at 100 yards. Accuracy-wise, I've seen it land in the 3 to 5 MOA range, but I'd bet a good condition M1 can tighten that up. It's no sniper rifle, but, it wasn't built to be. It's a workhorse, and a dang good one at that. Sure, the prices for these carbines have shot up faster than my blood pressure after a bad cup of coffee, but even at $800 to $1,000, the M1 Carbine's worth every red cent. It's more than a gun. It's a connection to the greatest generation, a rifle that proves sometimes lighter's better, and a blast to shoot. If you don't have one of these classics in your collection yet, what are you waiting for? Go get yourself an M1 Carbine, and thank me later. For the last one here, I'm talking about the quirks and glory of firearms history. The Mondragon, Mexico's brainchild, and the previously mentioned Gewehr 41W, Germany's attempt to make semi-auto magic happen, even if that is with a bit of trial and error. Let's saddle up and dig in. Before anyone else got their act together, Mexico stepped up in 1908 and issued the Mondragon, designed by General Manuel Mondragon himself. This 7x57mm repeater was slick, revolutionary, and ahead of its time. Too bad it was also caught up in the chaos of a revolution back home, which led to the production being cancelled faster than a bad Netflix pilot. SIG handled the manufacturing in Switzerland, and when Mexico canceled the deal, SIG was left holding the bag, or rather a bunch of rifles. Well, fast forward to World War I. Germany scooped up the leftover Mondragon thinking they'd struck gold. Spoiler, they didn't. The trenches chewed up and spat out this gun faster than a soggy biscuit. Ugh. Ultimately, it found a home in airplanes where the mud couldn't get to it. After their Mondragon misadventure, Germany kept tinkering, driven by the success of rifles like the M1 Garand and those Soviet Tokarevs. And by 1940, they had a new wish list for a semi-auto rifle. No moving parts on the outside, no holes in the barrel, and backup bolt-action capability. We talked about the failure that was the G41M, a clunky overachiever no one really liked. And meanwhile, Walther said, "Rules? What are you talking about, rules?" and delivered the Gewehr 41W, which was miles better. Both rifles used the Bang system, named after Danish inventor Soren H. Bang. Here's how it worked. When you fired, gases were trapped in a cone near the muzzle. These gases pushed a piston which moved a bolt, which was clever but prone to jamming if you couldn't clean it regularly. Which, let's face it, it's pretty tricky to do in a war zone. But the G41W had some solid features. Had a 10-round box magazine, which was loaded from the top with Mauser-style stripper clips. At 45 inches long and 11 pounds, it wasn't exactly a lightweight, but it got the job done. And like any good battle rifle, it could mount the K98K bayonet. Because I guess sometimes you just need to poke something. Walther's G41W was cranked out in respectable numbers, over 100,000 units, built at Walther and Berliner Lübecker factories. Despite its improvements, it still had issues like being a pain to clean and a bit too heavy for frontline soldiers. Eventually, Germany ironed out the kinks and delivered the Gewehr 43, which became the gold standard for their semi-auto rifles during World War II. Now, let's talk about this particular G41W. Built by Berliner Lübecker in 1943, it's in very good condition with 90% of its finish intact. The only oddity? The word France scratched into the stock, probably wartime graffiti. At an estimated value of $5,000, it's a pricey piece of history but worth every penny for collectors. The Mondragon was a pioneer that didn't get the love it deserved, and the G41W is proof that breaking the rules sometimes pays off. Both of these rifles tell a story of trial, error, and innovation in the race to perfect the semi-auto rifle. But that's a wrap, sharpshooters. From the M1 Garand's gas-trap beginnings to the Mondragon's untold story and the Gewehr 41W's over-engineered ambitions, these rifles shape the firearms we know today, whether as triumphs or lessons learned. Remember, history isn't just about the victories, it's about what we take forward. So, stay sharp, respect the past, and keep it simple, just like old Buck would do. And hey, don't stop here. Click that next video on your ride for more adventures. Until next time, stay steady and keep it the Tanner way.